Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Last Best Hope for Conversation, a Babylon 5 podcast where three old friends are going through a rewatch. For me, a new watch for Lou and Karen. Lou, Karen, it's been a couple weeks. How are things going?
Very well,
Good.
thank you.
Yeah.
Good. I have
Very
missed
old friends.
Yes, I have missed hanging out with you guys. It was an absolutely lovely vacation. And Lynn and I had a wonderful time going to the Northeast, but it is good to be back in the CNC talking in the Kingdom of the Blind, which is episode 9, season 5, originally aired March 18th, 1998. I will say this is the tale of two storylines. One is the best of times, one is the worst of times. Karen, your quick thoughts.
Really?
Mhm.
Which is which? Because I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. We'll have to see. All right.
Yeah.
What are your quick thoughts?
I'm more aligned with you, I think, Jesse. I found one storyline very interesting, and the other one was the parts that didn't include the telepaths was okay, but the
Yeah.
parts that included the telepaths was, but yeah, so maybe there's three tales there.
Okay. How about you, Karen?
Yeah, same. I think there's a small subplot of the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
Which is a pretty decent team, but
hmm
I'm just kidding.
I like that.
But yeah, there were two main plots, one subplot. One of the plots was interesting. The other ones I get because they're setting them up.
All right, we'll get into it. There is a little bit of confusion about the Raiders. They're attacking ships. They're not taking anything. They're really confused. Sheridan didn't know what to do. They're doing all this. And I feel like that by the end of the episode, we determined that it's the Centauri ships being controlled by someone else that might be doing the Raiders. Do you agree
Right.
with that assessment, Karen?
Yeah, I don't think it's the Raiders, that's for sure. It's not their behavior. They literally are what they are called, the Raiders.
Yeah.
So they would be taking things from those ships.
Yeah.
I do have an inkling it's most likely the Centauri.
Yeah. Lou, how about you?
I think that it's the unknown race, the
Yeah.
shadow puppet masters that are controlling
Yeah.
the Centauri and doing
Yeah.
those very hits for whatever reason. Why, I don't know yet at this point, but yeah.
All right, so let's get not the good vegetables, like the yucky vegetables out of the way first.
Can I ask a question since
you
Lou
can
just brought up those
Yeah.
weird, it's the slugs you're talking about, right? Those neck slug things?
Yes, and
Yeah.
the creature that you see in the shadows. Pardon the pun. Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're all related.
Yeah.
Right.
All those. Okay. So how long have they been controlling the Centauri is my question. Is that something that has been going on for a while? Are they behind the whole Narn thing? Does it go back centuries? So is that ever addressed on the show?
So I think the implication is that this happened with the Regent. We saw that the Regent had that creature taking over.
Right.
I believe this is a post-Shadow thing.
Okay.
That this
So
is
they were
because
brought
yes.
somehow to Centauri in the aftermath, maybe taking advantage of the confusion after the war, that kind.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wondered if they were behind other things on Centauri. Okay.
No, I do not believe that is the case. This is a fairly new thing that has happened because of the shadows being defeated, and they now there is a void during the confusion, and they take over that.
Lou,
All right.
were those hearts in response to my question?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay,
Lou just had
perfect.
little hearts
Yes.
going
I just wanted
over
to
his
see where they would
portrait.
go.
Oh,
Yeah, they
that's
love it.
cute.
It
They're
is.
cute.
And then what's fun is the sunbeam is hitting my camera, and so it looks like I'm in this
Yeah.
haze.
Like you put Vaseline over your
Yes,
camera
it did.
lens.
Yeah. So the telepaths want justice. They just feel like they have been used and abused, and they demand justice. Byron lies to get in front of the council, which does leave to a really funny line from Garibaldi: never ever trust a telepath. I swear to you, I'm going to have that tattooed inside my eyelids. So I, when I think of the season 5, and when I remember it not being one that I love very much, it is totally because of this telepath storyline. It is just not something I enjoy. Lou, let's hang with you. Thoughts on this whole, we'll just go through this, the angst and all the different things that they're doing through this storyline with the telepaths, and then we'll go to Centauri.
Okay. I'll start with the positive. I do think that Lita's storyline has been handled good or okay. Like I'm cool with the fact that she's sided with them. I thought they've
Yes.
set that up well over the past season and into this season. So her reasons for being with them makes sense. However, the way the telepaths are handling their situation is very clunky. I can't say that the show has set up how they're acting so stupidly is probably the politest way to put it. I I understand that they've been, they've had a raw deal. They've been persecuted. They're a people without a country, I guess you could say. But I guess telepaths just don't know, never heard the saying it's easier to track flies with honey than vinegar because the way that they're
Yeah.
going about things is totally off-putting. And I don't think that the show has set up properly that why they're behaving in that way. And then the the man that they have of a planet of their own, to me, doesn't seem like a big ask. And
Yeah.
in many ways, you would think a lot of the races would be happy to have them all confined to one area. And the fact that Sheridan and Delin are upset about that also doesn't make much sense to me. And the whole thing about the telepaths following everybody and retrieving their thoughts is also a very clumsy way of going about things. And I think the scene where Byron was with Garibaldi and reading his mind to try to find a lever to get into the council meeting also was not handled very well. It was like a rape scene in a way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just the show has not written the telepaths to be likable characters, and I don't understand why. Or it's let me put it another way. You don't have to really like them, but you have to be able to empathize with them in some form or manner. But they're just very off-putting, and it's very hard to have any empathy or sympathy or any kind of pithy for them. So, yeah, that's how I'm feeling about that whole telepath storyline. And I'm curious, Jesse, how the overall fandom reacted to it. It sounds like they didn't like it either. And I wonder how JMS has responded to how fans have responded to that storyline.
Go ahead. I'm going to hold that. Karen, give us your thoughts, and then I'll share what insight I have.
Yeah. Have there been any likable telepaths? Really? Because now Lita is becoming someone, and I agree that storyline has been handled well, but she's becoming an untrustworthy telepath as well. Are there any good telepaths?
I
Maybe the Minbari, maybe.
Yeah, and I would make the argument that Lita was a good
Sure,
paragraph.
was.
Yeah, and also I think, to do your point, Lou, that I understand why she's gone through this path.
Yeah.
Sure.
So therefore, while I don't agree with her decisions, I understand why they are that way.
Sure.
And
And
so,
we can
yeah,
definitely agree and sympathize with what she has done, but
yeah,
it means it's just another telepath that has betrayed the good guys. Again,
Yeah.
I'm using air quotes because the good guys have done some terrible things to telepaths. Just it doesn't paint a good picture of them at all. And we know that Bester is unlikable and now he's going to become this whole thing. Is there a side to take in this telepath war? I'm looking forward to that storyline finally starting, really, because it's been in this holding pattern, even though it's progressed a little bit.
Yeah.
And I feel like all the little pieces of the telepath story could have been in one episode so far.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like it could have been the A plot of an episode instead of little pieces of B plot. I'm glad it wasn't because we get some really good storylines. But Byron's just weird still. Oh, and I agree. I hated what he did to Garibaldi.
Yeah.
And I hated that he lied to the council. And he's done some terrible things.
I grabbed the script book, which has JMS does an introduction before the script. And he said that if he had to do it, these are reasons, not excuses. My words, not his. That with the unexpected, we're going to get the 5th season.
Mm-hmm.
The drama of losing Claudia and all this other things, he was off his game. Very exhausted, had been writing. He'd taken upon himself to write all the scripts by himself. He said if he had to do it over again, he would have leaned more into the buildup of Centauri and the drama there, and the telepaths would have been a less storyline. He would have redone that a little bit. He also was losing Marcus. He was trying to, with Byron, to have that kind of role. But he said that, and I can't quote it directly, but he said he is one of the most despised characters in the Babylon 5 universe, almost universally despised by the fans. And they said because he's not very likable, he doesn't have any redeeming characteristics, and a lot of it resent that he gets Lita because some people were pulling for Zach, and the other reason this guy is getting, so for a lot of reasons he agrees this just doesn't work, and unfortunately you can't go back. But I think that's one of the reasons why when he says if they ever get a Babylon 5 reboot, he would change things around. So I just find I tend to ignore the telepath part of the story and then just, okay, I can't wait to get to the other part. And I think it's a miss because in another universe or some kind of thing where we could have liked whoever this brought in, if it had been a more charismatic or interesting character, and we because the very best shows are when the villain is always the hero in their own story. And when you can understand that person's perspective, you may not agree with it, but you go, okay, they may have a point.
And enjoy them on the show.
Yeah.
Like I would say,
Bester.
like Bester. Yeah. That's the example I would use, like Bester.
Yeah. He is always fascinating. And so I also wonder if you'd had, like, I'm not saying Ricardo Montalban, but a Khan type character that is strong, that this is a really charismatic, you understand why they built, let's even go dark, a David Koresh, a really strong Huey P. Long, this cult figure that he's controlling. That would have made it much interesting. But instead, and I think it's very clear he cares for Lita and Lita cares for him. I think that she's a little bit caught up into the cult, but also she feels accepted and loved, and therefore she's being led down this path.
Very much resented what Bester has done.
Mm-hmm.
blackmailed her to stay
Right.
in the Psi Corps. So she's in a vulnerable spot where
Yeah.
any escape from that would have worked. And she has fallen. It's like an abuse victim who falls for their abuser, where they're just vulnerable.
Yeah.
And so they latch on to whatever's easy. I'm not saying Byron was her abuser by any
No,
means,
I
but
know what you're saying.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean? That vulnerable position, and goes with whoever, even if they're bad. And I don't see, like you said, I don't see his charismatic personality at all.
No.
I don't find him charismatic at all. Why is he the leader
Yeah.
of these people? Has he just appointed himself? They seem to be following him, but I don't get it.
Yeah.
And I don't dislike him because he is a Marcus replacement.
Yeah.
I loved Marcus very much, as you guys know. I'm sad that he died. They made it mean something, though.
Yeah.
He saved the life of the woman he loves.
Yeah.
And so I feel like they wrapped that up. As much as I hated it, they wrapped it up in a bow. But he's not a replacement at all for Marcus.
Yeah.
It's a completely different thing.
And I'm also, and I promise we'll move on shortly, but I don't know if either one of you are watching The Penguin on HBO.
No.
Okay. We may have to pick that up as a future discussion. But the character Colin Farrell is playing, Oz the Penguin, is fascinating. But Sophia Falcone, who is the daughter of the mob boss, played by the mother on How I Met Your Mother, Christina, is fascinating to watch. Think about Sebastian, right? The Jack the Ripper character, right? Yep. JMS can write the head of the monks. Yeah, that there have been interesting characters that come in that you go, oh, I would like to spend more time with them.
And I think that's why it's a little disappointing, because we know he can write for those. And I'm sure this actor is fine.
Yeah.
But it's written very poorly.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I get what you say completely.
Okay.
I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No, please.
Just one more thing before we move on.
Yeah.
I also think that JMS has done the lead character another disservice, and maybe this will change in following episodes. She's really become just like an extension of Byron. I really think that in this episode particularly, she would have gone to Sheridan on her own.
Yeah.
Without his permission, and tried to rectify the situation. So I think he's done a disservice to her character in that aspect as well.
And I realized that this was supposed to be, Susan was supposed to be the love interest,
right?
Originally in his mind. But how interesting would it have been, and we are definitely Monday Morning Quarterback, what if Lita had been the leader of this?
Right.
That she had somehow gotten this going,
or even if the storyline played out like it's playing out, her becoming this charismatic leader when they come aboard.
Yeah.
I could see that definitely. It would have been better than Byron.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been cool.
So when I think their plan to blockade, and it just is a bad plan.
Right. And Lou brought up, why aren't they just finding a planet for them?
Yeah.
Why is that such a stumbling block for them?
Yeah.
I don't get it. There's plenty of empty planets,
Yeah. And you wonder, and I realize Jakar is busy doing other things, but Jakar definitely wanted telepaths to come back to
Narn.
Yeah, Narn.
Yeah.
Okay, find a Narn colony and let's sit there, and the idea is we're going to help you figure out how to get telepaths back in Narn. So
exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why is that an issue? Although they might not want to share with the Narn, but they could definitely set up their own colony nearby.
Right. Yes.
There's so many ways this could resolve, but and it feels like they're manufacturing this in order to have a war on this season.
That could be a plausible stumbling block, is that whatever world that they went to, the other members of the whatever they're called, the councils,
Yeah, the Alliance.
the alliance. The other races might feel like, oh, they've got all the telepaths. They might use them in the future for something. That I could see, yeah, as a lever or a weapon. But surely there has to be a neutral or a habitable world where no race claims dominion over.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That could be solved if they go live near the Narn, right? Because then the Narn would be keeping watch on them while they're helping them out. I don't know. And I just feel like there are many solutions.
But I could see that in that scenario, the Centauri would not be happy.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Who cares?
But we're talking about the reasons why it might not work.
Yeah, I agree. But still, there's so many ways they could do this.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll wait and see what happens next. But I will move on to the storyline that I really enjoyed in a lot of different ways. One, we see Jakar and Londo, the odd couple. I'm really curious to hear Lou's take on this because he has had the issue of Londo's redemption story and not buying into it. But we get the odd couple coming. I think Andreas is having a blast at being in the court, winking at all the Centauri women. So let's just talk about the initial reaction to them doing that. And the Centauri thinking, oh, look, you brought your own entertainment. And Londo sharing that, no, this is my bodyguard. And we'll talk. I think I'm going to talk about the initial reactions, the powerful scene with the guy who whipped Jakar, and then what's happening with the Regent, our 3 different segments. So Lou, talk about just initial reactions of them being there in Centauri.
Okay, so going beyond my previous comments about the unlikeliness of these 2 guys getting along as good as they are, the 2 actors are fantastic together, and I enjoy their scenes, and I can understand why JMS has crafted this storyline because of those 2 actors. And so moving beyond the fact that I just don't think that Jakar would ever be in the same room with Londo anymore. I love their interactions together on Alpha or Centauri Prime, and the new character that they brought in, is it Vitari? I got a real hoot out of him. He reminded me of, like, the Regent was in the same kind of vein as character before he took over as, I guess he's the Emperor now. But I really enjoyed that new actor. I thought he played the part quite well. And even everybody on Centauri was really well cast. Even the guy with the white hair, I don't remember his name, but I've seen that actor in other things. So everybody there, the whole vibe of that part of the episode was really well done. I really quite enjoyed it. I loved Jakar when he made like the kissy face to that one girl, and I thought,
and she kind of blushes, right?
Yeah, like
she's flattered.
interested. Yeah. I thought that she said that. I said that would look how Susan would look as if she was a Centauri.
Oh, nice.
Because I thought she reminds me of Susan for some reason, her face and that. But yeah, so I thought it was a lot of fun there, a lot of energy, and there's no denying that those 2 characters and actors work well off of each other. Very much a salt and pepper combination.
Yeah. Karen?
Agreed. I love seeing them together. I don't know about you, Lou, but I'm starting to like him again. It's mostly because I just enjoy seeing them together on the screen, and that translates a little bit into my attitude towards them. And it's obvious that Jakar, and it's illustrated in this episode, that he has forgiven transgressions that were brought upon him. I can see where he'd be way more irritated and angry with Londo because of his actions. I get that. But there's a part of me that just wants to like him again. So I kind of am falling into that boat. I know that we're railing against it. There is a part of me that still does, but difficult for me to hate him. I love seeing them together. Andreas Katsoulis is masterful in this episode in many ways. It ran the gamut. Humor was fantastic.
Yeah.
His scene with the man who whipped him was profound, I thought, and it showed a lot of his character. And also the fact that he is earnestly helping Londo.
Yeah.
He is there as a bodyguard, period. And that is his. I know he's doing other stuff, like he's antagonizing that dude.
Yeah.
And he's having fun while he's there, but he is definitely really bodyguarding. Agreed.
Yeah.
An ear.
And I think, and Lou, I'm curious, can you get past this? You going, I don't get why this would happening, but now I'm going to accept the fact that we have, and are you enjoying the interaction and such?
Oh yeah, I thought I made that clear when I
I
talked.
thought you did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'm
Yeah.
not with Karen in the boat of liking.
Still not there yet.
Can empathize with his situation, even though he's really the engineer of his own fate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can like the actor portraying the character, but the character itself, I'm going, dude, it's kismet. Whatever happens to you is
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely a part of me that says that too.
deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I don't hate the actor or anything, or dislike. Hate is such a strong word. I don't dislike
Yeah.
the actor. In fact, I think he's fantastic in the role. But I just
Yeah.
think the it would be so interesting, again, going back to Monday morning quarterbacking, to see how the show would have played out if they had gotten the 5 seasons, and the whole Shadow War would still probably be playing out into the 5th season, and then we wouldn't have to deal with this kind of artificial situation that's been created to allow
Right.
these two actors to work together.
Agreed.
So let's talk about, and look, Karen, you already talked a little bit, but if you could expand. I thought that it was really powerful. And this reminds me a little bit, and I'm probably being overly dramatic, but the temptation of Christ,
Mhm.
where, the 40 days in the wilderness where he was tempted,
Mhm.
and the idea of the Centauri, okay, we're going to show, here is the man that gave you these lashes, the ones that you had to end up breaking and calling because Cartagia wanted this. And here is your chance to an eye for an eye, literally.
Mhm.
And he handles, I think, so well. So expand on a little bit on that, and then I want to hear what you think too, Lou.
Yeah. It was definitely a trap.
Yeah.
And Jakar knew that, but I don't think that is why he acted the way he did. He definitely wouldn't have fallen into that trap of beating the guard. But I also think it was powerful the way he refused to do it.
Yeah.
That he said he didn't act on his own behalf.
Yeah.
This was an order he was given. And while it was reprehensible, I can't fault him for following an order, because he would have been treated poorly if he hadn't. It was a threat that he wouldn't do it. And so it shows his, and I hate to say this because I don't know what it's called there, but his humanity.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I'm sure it's something else, his narnanity.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really shows his character. And that is something that hasn't really changed. I think it's evolved as the show has gone on, but he's always had an honorable streak in him. And after I think the turning point was when he was incarcerated and he was alone with himself and only had his book of, like, his Bible to read. And this is when he became a more spiritual kind of honorability. I don't know. I'm sure I'm talking in circles, but I love how Jakar carries himself, and I think that was something he would have done anyway, but he definitely knew it was a trap.
Yeah.
And I think part of why I want to like Londo is because the other Centauri are just so terrible.
Yeah. Lou, how about you?
Yeah, I thought that was a very powerful moment in the scene. And Jakar, the actor who played it beautifully. I think the only thing I would have changed maybe a little bit is the staging of the moment when he took the whip into his hand and when he was talking about the heart and the hand and the mouth.
Yeah.
I think he should have had his attention more focused on the guard at first, and then when he got to the mouth part, then he should have turned to the Centauri character. I'm sorry, I don't know what his name is.
Vol Vitari?
Yeah.
I don't know which one
Yeah.
it is.
Millie Vanilli,
Yeah.
Millie Vitari,
Yeah.
Millie Vitari, Milo Verini, I guess is.
Yeah.
No, Verini is.
Tari, I think,
Yeah,
is
there's
who the
Jano,
bad guy is.
Vanilli, Vitari. Yeah, there's
So
Jano's the
Jono,
friend.
yeah, is
Yeah.
the friend. Yeah.
yeah. So I think Verini.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just would have staged that a little bit differently because to drive home the symbology of what was being said, I think the mouth part is when he should have turned his attention to that Centauri instead of the guard.
Yeah.
But beyond that, yeah, I thought he played the scene quite well. And yeah, what else could I say? He's just Andre Casellas is just really good as that character.
Yeah. I
For
just
real.
really loved seeing that and
Andreas, sorry.
showing why that this is not necessarily Jakar is on a redemption. He is on a spiritual journey. And I just really have enjoyed seeing that. And once again, I go back to, and I'm repeat this again, when I rewatch this and I see how in the pilot, in the first episodes, that he is what we assume is going to be our villain and knowing where he's going to come is just a really part of the joy of a rewatch. Similar to watching Farscape and Crace's journey that I really love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard for us to hold our tongues.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an unfortunate characteristic of Babylon 5 though that's the characters, some of the sub characters don't get to talk. Like I would have loved the guards to have had a line of dialogue or two in that just to either drive home, he either was totally for what he did and he would do it again, or that he felt regret or remorse about it. But you just know, I can almost tell in a scene who's not going to talk in a Babylon 5 scene. And that's just something that's quite irritating at times. And in that particular scenario, and any scenes with the telepaths, another reason why I don't like them is because all the other telepaths never talk. Even if they would do off-screen voice and voice stuff, they would just make those other characters come alive rather than just be props.
All right. So the Regent they're talking about the Regent isn't seeing anymore. And because he's the Regent, everyone gives a pass because they're like compared to Cartesian, this guy is not crazy at all.
Yeah, but he's still crazy.
Yeah. And I do think that it was a very small role, but Lord Yano, I'm not sure how to pronounce it.
The
By
friend
the way,
that comes aboard and ends up getting killed,
that Ian Ogilvy was the character actor, and he immediately comes across as someone who's really likable. And you could see that they're old friends. And then I immediately knew, okay, something bad's going to happen.
He's going to die.
Him, right?
Any old friend of Londo's.
Yeah.
I think this is the third time it's happened, right?
Yeah, exactly. And
the only thing I have with this, like, why was he killed? There was no reason given for that. It just seems pretty random. But
by the way, he played Simon Templar in The Return of the Saint.
That's cool.
Yes,
I knew I've heard the name before.
78 to 79, 24 episodes of that. He played the Saint, which was
cool.
I remember I loved those short stories and books when I was and Roger Moore, absolutely.
Yeah.
And he has that Roger Moore vibe, right? He
was very good in his limited time. Yeah.
Yeah. Theory of so because he's suspecting something's going on with the Regent, is that why they're killing him maybe?
But
Uh,
everybody's thinking that, isn't it?
no, I get the feeling most of them are just he's just crazy because he's crazy. What do you think, Karen?
I think that might have been part of it or all of it. I don't know. He did say that he was going to discuss it with Londo.
Yeah.
Maybe there was something that happened when he came to Centauri.
Hmm.
That there was an inkling that maybe he was going to
Yeah.
investigate stuff. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was considered to be James Bond.
Ah.
That's
And
cool.
also the guy who is playing the stuck-up Francis X. McCarthy, also a pretty good character actor, and I thought he was good as the foil.
Yeah,
You
was
know,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him in other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Londo, they're going to try to assassinate Londo magically. The dagger, this is the first time we've really seen much telekinesis, but something saves him. And we get the regent talking about I'm being controlled. And he says, if I had my way, Lord Yano, you wouldn't be killed. And then he meets with Londo and tells Londo to enjoy his freedom while it lasts, which is very, for someone who knows what's coming, which is most of us, because we do see at the end where Londo has this keeper on his neck. It once again ends, I think it adds to the suspense of what's going to happen. Lou, thoughts on this kind of wrapping everything up for this?
I don't know why Londo didn't tell Jakar what happened while they were
Mhm.
separated,
Yeah,
and why he saw that weird reptilian creature.
yeah,
And I don't know why they don't talk about that. That's irritating type of storytelling where people don't
yes,
talk to each other that I don't like.
yes, I agree.
Um, I didn't realize that the dagger was hooked up by telekinesis. I just assumed it was the alien being invisible, grabbing it, but I
Oh,
don't know. I don't know.
oh,
Um,
I think I could be wrong. I think so. Yeah,
so
that's
Either
actually a good
way,
point. Yeah,
yeah, I like the fact that they closed the door when Londo's fighting all those Centauri, and then they open up the door and he's putting the last one down. I thought that was funny. So that was a nice little bit. Yeah. So then Londo lying in his bed, and I think he mentioned early in the episode talking about he was thinking of making pastels for the curtains or drapes or whatever, but now
yeah.
everything's dark, and for the first time he's not comfortable being where he is, and he wants to leave. And to Jen Jakar saying, "Then I'm not going to sleep tonight at all." I liked how that closed out.
And I do it it shouldn't bother me, but it bothers me Jakar's sleeping with his gloves and fully dressed.
a lot of soldiers do that too in order
Yeah,
to be able to
Yeah.
just get up. And
yeah,
firemen go to sleep half dressed, just ready to pull on
yeah.
their suits and stuff. So I get it. It's one
Okay.
of those things that,
Well, yeah,
and
it's weird that Londo only has one bodyguard. How does he rotate off coverage? Like basically Jakar has to stay awake 24/7. Like, I mean, seriously.
yeah, maybe he assumed he wouldn't need more than Jakar on his own planet until he got there.
And I think what I filled in is that the palace guard are also outside and doing him, but just Jakar is his primary Secret Service agent.
Yeah,
Okay,
but given
sure.
the political, like what we've seen anytime they've been on Centauri, the political subterfuge and double dealing that's going on, I wouldn't be very comfortable with bodyguards
Nope,
from the Royal Guard at all.
Yeah,
nope,
yeah, good
me
point.
either.
Yeah.
Um, we did get a partial payoff though of being able to silence them by drinking. That was introduced in the time travel episode.
Yeah.
Hmm. All right. Any other thoughts? Do we need to discuss?
That was refreshing to see Garibaldi in the scene with Sheridan and Lynn. That's
Yes,
been a minute.
absolutely.
And yeah, Zach's new hairdo is growing on me. How about
Good.
Karen?
No, I like him a
Oh, I
lot.
like them with the longer
Hmm.
hair.
I like them,
Yeah.
period.
Okay.
Really.
Yeah. It's
Hmm.
so
I
hard for me
like
sometimes
just
to reconcile him with Hitler on
Taxi.
Taxi. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's like,
That's a
yes.
that's a me problem, not a him problem.
I still see his character from Taxi
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like seeing Christopher Lloyd in Back to the Future and also getting a glimpse of him, his character from Taxi as well.
Yeah,
Yeah. Even in
absolutely.
Star Trek 3, I still saw
Sure.
Yeah,
I still
exactly.
saw
Of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always that kind of crossover. And
Yeah.
it was hard for me to see Veer as Veer sometimes when I saw him saying, I'll take 10,000 marbles, please. I see him as Flounder from,
Yeah.
I always see him from Saint Elsewhere.
oh, that's
Yeah,
true
I do
too.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
agree. If there's nothing else, let's give our ratings. Karen.
Okay. I would give the Centauri storyline an 8 or an 8.5. But since we have the other storyline in there, I guess I'm going to have to give it like a 7.
Okay.
That's how far it falls for me
Sure.
because of it. 7 whips.
Oh, okay.
Very good.
Yeah. Lou?
I Yeah, these are hard to rate because there's parts that work well and other parts that don't. But I do think the Centauri's storyline in this particular episode trumped the telepath one. Unfortunately, because Londo's going back to Babylon 5, we're not going to have that in upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
I'm still going to give this one an 8 daggers, sticking with the weapon motif that Karen has started us on.
Guardians of the Galaxy daggers.
Yeah. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to do 7.5 tattooed eyelids.
All right. That's
yeah.
good.
Nice.
Oh, our
Yeah.
average is a 7.5. So what is the
Yeah.
rating on Lurker's Guide?
Let us look, and it is 8.54, which I
Wow.
think is a little high.
That is a little high.
Yeah.
If you're just rating the Centauri storyline, I get it. But
Yeah.
that telepath stuff is just a big rock
Yeah.
weighing it down.
So I believe we have 2 emails, both from Nathan in Texas. You want to give them to us?
Sure. I'll read Texas's first. And I apologize, Texas. I'll have to cut this down a little bit, but we will read it in total in our free time.
Yes.
Sheridan finally finds out what it would take to make all the worlds work together in unanimity. Just goes to show, be careful what you wish for, because they are unanimously forcing him to deal with the telepaths that he offered sanctuary to, meaning he now has to withdraw that support and let station security take them into custody. I guess Lockley won't need to figure anything out once the 60 days are up, after all. That is a good point. What Byron is asking for is not really that unreasonable, only a spare world, not that big a deal, right? He follows up by trying to blackmail the entire alliance. Yeah, it's hard to be sympathetic, right? And give him a world. I've heard a lot of discussion on other podcasts, and apparently ours now, side note, about why doesn't Sheridan just give them a world? First off, you never fulfill demands under duress, even if you're not a government official. It's just a bad idea. Once people know you will fold, they will start making demands after demands. Okay, here's my side of that, just for whatever edification, and I'm sure Lou has a side as well. Before it was a blackmail thing, would have been one thing, because it just would have been a request from a faction, right? Because he entertains requests from the Alliance worlds all the time. But with the blackmail, I understand he should not have given in at that point. We never, never give in to terrorists.
Yeah, we never negotiate with terrorists.
Thank you.
Yes.
That thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm curious, and we're going to just stop for a minute. I also think that you could have, if you had at the beginning said, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to allow you we'll work on getting you your own world.
Right.
Might have changed things a little bit better, right?
Yeah, and he knew with them coming aboard that they couldn't find a world for themselves, and this was their last resort. Yeah. Why didn't he meet with them at that point? It's like he just let them aboard and then let it go.
Yeah.
He should have followed up on it and said, hey, let's get you. You've been treated unfairly, even by me, so let's see what we can do for you.
Any thoughts, Lou, before we go to the rest of this email?
We didn't specifically raise that point, but I think it's a very valid point, and I think we were trying to say that in the roundabout way, that the telepath's approach to the whole situation was very clunky and off-putting.
Yeah. I agree.
Exactly.
All right.
It says, speaking of Centauri Prime, because he talks about Londo, thinking about the coming
Yeah.
to an agreement on, anyway, thinking about other things. Speaking of Centauri Prime, this has some of my favorite Jakar moments in the entire series. He meets the expected derisive comments, but does not rise to the bait, though he still takes the opportunity to have fun with the court every chance he gets, asking when supper is and making kissy faces at the ladies.
Yes.
His shining moment comes when Minister Vol grants him a chance to return the favor to the guard that whipped him. If you had been beaten almost to death and you had a chance to return the favor, what would you do? Okay, me personally, I would return the favor. I'm fully admitting that I'm flawed. What about you guys?
I don't know. I would like to think that I would be a better person,
Sure,
but
same here,
I
but
don't know if I would be.
yeah, I don't know that I'd have that strength.
Same here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd want an eye for an eye type
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Here, Jakar shows how far he's come, in that the one who is truly responsible is dead, and the heart that would have desired revenge is also dead. Jakar has no interest in returning like for like any longer, something he was trying to impart to his people after the Centauri left Narn and immediately wanted to strike back at them despite their last war leading to the devastation of their world. So how will all this end? Maybe after everyone kills each other, we can plow under all the buildings and plant rows of flowers and spell out the words "too annoying to live" in letters big enough to be seen from space.
Yeah.
This is the Texas on the Shock signing off. Okay, that's cool. I'll have to try and figure out what his sly reference is when I watch the next episode.
Absolutely. All right, and I think we have some from Nathan, right?
We do. We have one from Nathan. Hey guys. So the main story here is an escalation of telepath conflict, while Londo's story is supposed to be a smaller escalation, far more foreboding than a conflict peaking, and yet it's much more gripping and interesting. I don't care about telepath and Byron and him being self-contradictory and going on attack by scanning the ambassadors, but then saying to his followers they shouldn't attack. Yeah, good point. Sheridan is once again a cardboard cutout to move the plot along. He is a military guy, but in the past, he was much more willing to work with people to solve the problem rather than abandon it and let others deal with it. Okay, Nathan, I literally just said that, and it's awesome that I didn't read this ahead of time.
Yes, absolutely.
On the other hand, it can be interpreted as a continuation of authoritarian tendencies, or maybe him not caring about either powerless or ones he considers different. He puts quotes around that.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be hypocrisy because before that, he didn't think that aliens were different. He's all about working together. The Centauri Prime is interesting to watch as a puzzle and a thriller. Londo doesn't know what we know, so we watch the camera showing us the killer, but the character doesn't see him. Amazing stuff. With regards, Nathan.
Perfect.
Oh, great emails, you guys.
So, Lou, it's been a while, but did we get any YouTube feedback?
We did for episode 7, Secrets of the Soul, which is the one where Lita starts to become closer to Byron, and also it's the one where Franklin investigates the secret of the Hayek race from their distant past. We got a couple of comments there. Texas said that there's a scene at the end of The Hunt for Red October where a Russian sub shoots a torpedo, but the Americans decoyed off. Then someone says that torpedo's still active. It's looking for another target. Byron is the torpedo in this case.
Yeah.
Then Nathan gets into the whole of the telepath's abilities, and he's talking about Byron doesn't have full control of the group. They follow him, but don't do everything he wants all the time. They don't talk because they don't need to. They just hear each other's thoughts, and they are superior that way to mundanes. Which I totally agree with, but the problem is we're not hearing their thoughts, and that's my big gripe, because those things are dead without that. It's like watching a movie with the sound turned off. And telekinesis is a subject of experimentation, it's true, but only because it's rare and powerful. Telekinetics do appear naturally. A character mentions either in season 1 or when the boy arrives that 1 in 10,000 are telepaths, 1 in 10,000 of them are telekinetics, and half of them are mentally ill. And then she's talking about Lita didn't have a vision during sex. Don't think we said that. I think we just said it was more like a mind meld scenario. I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just going Byron. Oh, then he's talking about why Byron is so hell-bent on getting revenge because of being created by the Vorlons. There's some shame attached to that, but it's also because the telepaths were made that way. They are shunned by society and forced to be drugged, imprisoned, and to be drafted to be mind reader slaves. More than that, they were used by mundanes in shadow war against shadow ships like weapons that were discarded just after Leto was. And I think that's a great point, but I don't think that's expressed properly in this episode. And actually, that point is a good one that they were. I think he mentioned it in passing. Now that I'm trying to think because that's a couple episodes ago. But I think that would have been the hook to lay some blame at the feet of especially Sheridan because that was whole part of his plan. So I think that would have been a much better, or that's a point that should have been the tent pole for why Byron is going in the direction that he is. And then Texas just points out, we all keep talking about Lita in seasons 1 and 2 when I think you mean Talia. And if we did that, then yes, he's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
But it's been a while. Then episode 8, Day of the Dead. Day of the Dead was the episode where
Penn and Teller visit.
And Rebo and Zudi are on the station and people are visited by deceased from their past. Stewart says they missed the second point of the relayed statement from Kosh beyond the direct message to Sheridan. Keep sitting on that Easter egg for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've inadvertently read a spoiler or not. We could debate whether the dead are really returning from the other world or whether the characters were just having their own suppressed feelings and memories elevated and coalesced into their respective visitors. This tells us that the story was real. Neither Zoe nor Lockley ever met Kosh or knew about his relationships with Sheridan. Theoretically, Lockley could have been researched at all, but that would have been grossly out of character. So that's a very good point. And then, so that was Stewart. Then Nathan says, I recalled why Morden didn't work for me in a scene with Linier. Why would an antagonistic figure, a malicious, manipulative character, help or speak the truth? And I'm going, exactly. Linier is not in conflict with just the message, but also the figure of the messenger. So he might not listen just because he has no reason to trust anything. And there was nothing done to solve his problem besides, trust me, bro.
Yeah.
Do you
I
even
love
live?
that.
Yeah. It would have been much more interesting. The same things were said by someone friendly like Marcus or Sinclair. It would reveal Linier's internal conflict more. Or Gaiman could have at least, because Neil Gaiman wrote the episode, made the external conflict is interesting. Morden repeatedly antagonizing Linier would have been fun to see, or just Linier seething and being disappointed because read more of Morden's presence. And then he's talking about the mystery stuff, which I'll just pass on that. And then he just makes a comment about regarding Gaiman and Pratchett comparison. No, they are not the same. Pratchett is funny, heartfelt, or profound. Gaiman fails in comedy, oh boy, and is very often shallow, which is why I've said that his things read like the first draft to me. I understand the direction or the message he sends. He just consistently fails to engage me. It's always not enough or undercooked.
Oh, it's an arrow to the heart, Nathan.
Yep. I think
love
he stand alone.
I
Not
love
alone,
Pratchett.
I
love Terry Pratchett also, but I definitely love him.
and this is a tangent, and this is interesting because as a reader myself of both of these guys, I find that, and just in general, satire works to me best like a 15-minute Saturday Night Lights skit. But when it's done in a novel length form like Pratchett does, I get very fatigued very quickly. And maybe Gaiman, and I'm just projecting my own subjective taste here, realizes that, so he parses his stuff out over a longer period of time, and that's why his work works better for me than Pratchett. But that's just a taste thing. But I find that a very enlightening comment. Much for that, Lee.
I have to say that while we might not agree on everything, Nathan, we love your opinions, that you share them. And I think it says a lot about him that he feels comfortable enough to share those opinions with us, even though we don't agree, and keep them coming. I honestly love when you disagree. Mind you, this one hurt. I have to say.
And
That's
finally,
awesome.
this one really warms my heart. Texas says, "You didn't do the thing." And scene. And I purposely
Yeah.
left it out because I thought, you know what? I don't know if that annoys people or if they actually like it. And
So apparently,
That makes my heart think.
I love that. Look
Okay.
for its return. And I
Mhm.
purposely left it out because sometimes we were talking over each other and I just added from a previous episode and I thought, you know what? This time I'm just going to leave it out and see if anybody says anything. And you did. So you just made my day. Thank you very
yeah,
much.
same.
Makes my
And
day too.
so,
Yes.
just so you know, I also do a little hand gesture with it where I go, scene. I mouth it along with Lou. So
Yes.
it's a fun part of the ending of each podcast. So we do it every time. It was
We
just
do.
left out of this one. I'm sorry it disappointed you, but
And this makes me so happy too, because it is, you've done that as long as we've done this, right?
yes.
And
With Farscape too, way
Yep.
back.
yeah,
And Chuck even, I think you did it.
No, I don't
yeah.
think I did it with
No?
Chuck. No, I think I
Okay.
started with Farscape.
Okay. What
Oh,
has that been? 10 years?
Farscape, the lost episodes.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, I've actually was wondering if do when was when did we start doing this? Because I was debating on, because someone asked, when did I start podcasting? And I said, I guess during the Farscape rewatch, but I
Yeah.
could,
2006.
okay, was it
Yep.
2006? All right.
And it is on YouTube if anyone wants to look it up, the
Okay.
Scapecast.
Oh, is
Okay.
it?
Good.
Yep.
Oh,
From tuning into sci-fi TV.
Oh, okay, cool.
all right. 2006. Okay. That makes me very happy because the guy I was talking to jokes about that he's been podcasting longer than I have because he's been doing it since 2008. So now I can go,
Hey now,
hey now.
wait a
Yeah.
minute. It
Yeah.
is actually on IMDb and we aren't listed.
Oh no.
We'll have to add ourselves.
Yeah. Okay.
Dudes,
What
Kevin Batchelder, though, which, come on,
Yes,
Kevin is the
exactly. Yes,
best.
he is. All right. If someone wants to give us more excellent feedback, how can they, Karen? Or
Well,
Lou,
they
let's go.
can,
Yes. Go ahead, Lou. How can
let
they
me
listen?
say, they can
Yes,
email us at jklb5podcast@gmail.com.
absolutely. Yes. And Lou, how about you? Where can they find you and share?
They can find us on YouTube at Lou's Reviews, which is the home for the Babylon 5 podcast,
Yeah.
as well as our JKL Media podcast. And there we do one-offs of limited, or what's the proper term? Short run series or limited series,
Yeah.
as well as movies, music, books, comments, and so forth. We've run the gamut there, and every once in a while we go back and do some olden goldies. And after this, we're going to be recording our thoughts on 12 Angry Men, the 1957 Henry Fonda version of the movie, which is even older than me because I was born in 58.
Same.
And I was born in 59, so yes, the same
So,
thing.
and you can find me on Twitter at Lou W. Sitzma, Sytsma.
All right. And Karen, how about you?
I am at Oliveria on the social medias. Apparently, we are listed in IMDb, so please find our IMDb pages. But yeah, I'm at Oliveria, and you can find my blog at Alley Stuff, where there's a bunch of links, including to the Scapecast, if you want to find that.
And I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter, aka X. You can hear me talking music, and coming up in November, I am doing a 30 days of Springsteen. So I am doing a new episode every day
Oh
in
my God.
November talking about Bruce Springsteen's albums.
Wow.
So yes, I am an idiot and
No,
also
no,
just
no.
maybe a glutton for punishment. But yes, so November will be a new episode of Set Listing Bruce every day of the month, talking about different Bruce Springsteen albums. Every episode will be me and a guest doing a breakdown on the album and why this person chose that for discussion.
So at the
And
end of that, there's a hey, what are we gonna do next kind of thing as when it comes to albums. And one of the podcasts I listen to is Office Ladies.
Yeah.
and it's Pam and Angela from The Office. They discuss each episode, and they're
Okay.
at the end
Yeah.
of The Office now, and they're discussing what they're going to do next. So
Yeah.
it just reminded me of, hey, what are we going to do after we talk about all the albums? But I'm sure you have plenty of stuff in the can for after that.
Yes, I will continue to be interviewing people. All right, Lou, Karen, this was blast. I felt maybe after 2 weeks off, we might have been a little rusty, a little out of sync, but we
No,
had fun as always.
Well, you woke
Never.
up this morning before you came on.
Yes.
that's true. But we
Yeah.
took off several years after the Scapecast, and we came right back. So
Mhm.
I don't think 2 weeks is going to affect us
That's
in any way.
absolutely. All right, listeners, please send us some feedback and love us on the socials. We would love for you to go to iTunes to rate and review us. And so we will be back next week with more discussions of season 5. And look for this feed. We are going to be talking about a film classic, 12 Angry Men. So be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
And vote
Yes, vote.
That's unexpected.
and see.